Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
9 minutes before 8. More of your calls coming in concerning that disturbance at the migrant centre near Heathrow Airport. Antonio, you'll be the next caller on that. But should we go green? Because much of the world is trying to. And, of course, it's very much with the theme of where the Prime Minister is now, Sharm el-Sheikh, for that COP conference. And a green initiative now, the country's first large-scale merchant lithium refinery. Now, if it sounds like I don't understand a word I'm reading, you're absolutely right. So thank goodness I can turn to Business Secretary Grant Shapps, who's going to fill in the gaps. OK, good to have you on, sir. What is a merchant lithium refinery and what will it provide for? Good morning.
Morning. So it will provide the lithium in a format that's required for batteries. That could be in your car, it could be in your phone. Actually, interestingly, nearly all the lithium that's being refined in the world, nearly 90% of it's done in East Asia. There are not a single lithium refinery business in Great Britain or indeed in Europe anywhere. This factory, this refinery, which is being set up here, I'm in Middlesbrough, in Teesside, this will provide about 7% of Europe's entire lithium requirements in the future. So this is a massive move and a big win for the North East.
Well, congratulations. I assume as well there must be jobs associated with it, Secretary of State.
Yeah, about 1,000 jobs for it to be built, about 250 jobs when it's up and running. And it's a really important moment because it's about that critical minerals supply chain, as it's called, and it's about having energy independence and energy sovereignty, which is something we care a lot about. We've seen what's happened with unreliable partners like Putin, and no longer a partner indeed. We don't want the same to happen with other energy sources. So being able to refine lithium is really important. This green lithium refinery that I'm here for today is a really important part.
Well, congratulations. Just lastly on this subject, when will it actually come online? When will it start producing the relevant...
I think actually start to be built next year, right. Come online in 2025.
In a related story regarding green issues, Ed Miliband has suggested that UK should pay reparations for climate issues in past years. Do you agree with Mr Miliband?
Well, I think whatever happens, there have to be international agreements to dictate this stuff. And that's why the meeting going on in Egypt, that's COP27. Your listeners will remember COP26 in Glasgow last year. That's why COP27 is so important. We need to do these things through international agreement and cooperation. And Britain is and has been playing its part.
But we have, in Mr Miliband's words, exactly, Secretary, we have, quotes, a historical responsibility. It is morally right to send cash to countries such as the Maldives and Pakistan. Do you agree with that?
Well, we've always been helping out around the world. I mean, I think the point that's being made is, we industrialised first and without knowing about releasing carbon from fossil will, of course, contributed towards it. I think that's a fair comment. These things need to be done through international agreement, and those are exactly...
So you're not against it, Secretary of State?
Well,
you're not against making payments to Pakistan and other countries?
Well, I was going to say, these are exactly the talks that are ongoing at the moment at COP, and one of the discussions that's going on is how you get to the right balance of countries paying towards climate change. The Prime Minister's there today. He's announcing £65 million to help with sustainable energy in developing countries. So we're already doing some of that stuff. I think it's important the world gets to sort it out. By the way, during our COP presidency, so we've been president of this international movement to get to net zero carbon by 2050. During our presidency in the last year, 30% of the world was signed up, 30% of the world's GDP was signed up at the beginning. 90% of the world's GDP is signed up now. So the British leadership has been undoubted.
I just think on behalf of my listeners, many of whom are fearful of turning up the heat this winter, many of whom they might find it a bit odd that the Conservative government, is sending money to the Maldives when we haven't got money for people in Manchester or Middlesbrough.
Well, to be absolutely clear, we know what Putin's war's done to energy prices, and here we are in a situation where every home in this country is getting at least £700 or on average, I should say, £700 towards their energy bills, which would be a good deal higher if that money was not coming back through people's energy bills this winter. So this is a government, just as we did during COVID, where we stepped in and tried to support people, and we'll carry on trying to do that. Obviously, we are affected by the global energy prices, just like any other nation.
OK. Do you concur with one of your colleagues, Sir John Hayes, when he says keeping the triple lock is, quotes, a matter of Tory principle? Do you agree?
Well, I was going to say the Prime Minister and the Chancellor and myself, when it comes to things like the energy packages, have been working very closely on this package of measures, which will come out in the autumn statement, which is on November 17th. Yeah, wrong month. November the 17th. So not very long to wait, and you'll be able to see.
But do you agree it's a matter of principle? Just before we move on, is it a matter of principle?
I think we're trying to do that. I agree that it won't be very long until we find out exactly what the full.
No, that wasn't quite the question, Mr. Shapps. Do you agree it's a matter of principle?
Well, I agree it's very important that we look after pensioners. I do agree with that. I also think that everybody understands the situation that we're in, and the Chancellor will come forward with that complete package. So I don't want to preempt his package. And just so you don't think I'm being tricksy on this, I don't know what he'll say on that area. You'll have to wait and see. What I do know is when it comes to areas related to things like energy, that we have stood behind households and businesses in this country to try to support them.
Last couple of minutes together. Just a few weeks ago, you were Home Secretary. Would you have taken a Chinook helicopter down to Kent to find out what was going at Manston? And this is a yes or no.
I don't know what the security arrangements were that day, and I know that the Prime Minister was the Home Secretary was trying to squeeze in a lot of additional things to her day, and will have been trying to get there, and presumably back to Parliament or something. I'm not sure. What I do know is that I was very concerned about the situation in Manston. I took immediate action in the week that I was Home Secretary to make sure that we weren't inadvertently turning that centre, which is actually a processing centre, into a detention centre. And I made changes to make sure that was the case, and I know that the Home Secretary's continued with those changes. There's
news breaking at this time, and you as Business Secretary and former Transport Secretary will have a view. We're hearing that Just Stop Oil demonstrators are now in two positions on the M25. Bear with me for a moment, if you would, Secretary. I just want to let the listeners know where this is. This is clockwise around Junction 6, which is Godstone, and Junctions 29 to Junctions 30, so two different sites. The impact, of course, as former Transport Secretary and as Business Secretary, this is obviously going to cost the economy some money, Secretary of State.
It's completely outrageous. No issue with people arguing for lower levels of petrol, of gas, or whatever other thing they want to campaign for, usage. That is fine. That is one thing. But don't go disrupting other people's lives. It's unacceptable. It's illegal. When I was Transport Secretary, I made sure that national highways used in junctions, and quite a number of people from one of their sister campaign organisations spent this Christmas in prison. I hope that's what happens here as well. It's completely wrong to disrupt people's lives in this way. There are perfectly legitimate ways to campaign on things like climate change, if that's what they want to do. I'm going to COP later this week to try to help with these issues. But don't go and disrupt people's lives and businesses and families trying to go about their business. And I hope that justice is served up to these people.
Lastly, your senior colleague, Sir Gavin Williamson, why is he so potty-mouthed?
Well, I think he must have been in a moment of frustration that I'm sure he regrets very deeply. It's completely inappropriate to send messages like that under any circumstances, frustration or otherwise. Yes. And it's absolutely right. That's being looked into. There is a process underway. Well,
you say a moment of frustration, Miss. They started these texts on September the 13th. They concluded on October the 17th. That's not a moment, Secretary of State.
No, and look, there is no justification for writing to anybody in those terms. From time to time, I get angry emails which go across the line, just as a member of Parliament. They shouldn't be sent, and they certainly shouldn't be sent by members of Parliament.
Well done in Middlesbrough, providing jobs, which is always a good thing to talk about. Thank you for your time this morning. Grant Shapps appearing here, the Business Secretary Grant Shapps appearing here on LBC. We've got to 1 minute after 8. Simon Conway has the headlines.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8.